Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Biden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Bonnier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
From the East Coast to the West Coast and around the world on the Internet. We're coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460. This is the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host, Rick Trader. The Conservative Commandos Radio Show, where the newsmakers go to be heard.
Drink my wine.
You can call the Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, fellow patriots, and welcome once again to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. I am Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, the way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And joining me once again on his regular day is Jonathan Mosley. John, welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show.
Glad to be here.
Well, John, I just got some very bad news for you. Very, very bad news. And I'm sure you're going to be crushed by this bad news. But remember our good friend Sandra Fluke?
I'm sorry, what? I didn't hear that.
Do you remember our good friend Sandra Fluke?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Well, she said she'd rather be a captive Nigerian girl than touched by a Republican. So I guess that idea of asking her out isn't going to happen, John Mosley. If so, I don't think it's going to be very successful. So this woman would rather be captured, raped, tortured, and sold off to a Muslim as a bride than to be touched by a Republican.
Well, on the one hand, I was looking forward to saving money on birth control, not having to pitch in as the man. But on the other hand, isn't this the perfect example of the feminist hypocrisy on Islam? I mean, could she have said it any more clearly?
Well, okay, there you go. Well, you know, one thing that I've said for quite some time, John, if the liberals get their way and totally change this country into the image that they want, including letting the Muslims come in, and eventually the Muslims will outpopulate any Christian, Jewish, atheist. I know atheist isn't a religion, but people who believe in atheism, I guess. And they take control of the government. And, you know, people like Sandra Fluke, the conservative revenge would be these people are going to be left to live in the nation that they created.
This is true. Now, you didn't quote some of the stuff here on Sandra Fluke. You sent me. She said these girls who are kidnapped, who are going to be sold into sex trafficking and
I just figured something out. John, I just figured something out.
About the same thing. You there?
Yeah, John, I just figured something out. That's why she needed all that free birth control. Sandra.
Oh, dare I ask? What's going on?
John, are you having trouble hearing me on this end today?
I am having. I may have to reset the phone here.
All right.
But anyway, she said that these girls should count themselves lucky. Now, these girls are essentially going to be raped, whether it's called a marriage or not, against their will. This is Sandra Fluke, the darling of the feminist movement, saying that these girls in a Muslim oppressive society should count themselves lucky they're not being held captive by Republicans. She said if they came to America, they could end up working for Republican lawmakers there in California, where she's running for office. She's running for state senate, by the way.
Oh, is she really? Very interesting. Very interesting.
Amazing.
Well,
amazing.
You know, luck. She'll probably win. She'll probably win. Did you see what's his name just won the primary in South Carolina? The gay singer.
Which one? The one in Nebraska or North Carolina? Yesterday?
North Carolina. I guess it's what's his name?
What about it?
The gay singer. What? You know who I mean? He was on America's Next.
Yeah. I don't follow that stuff, so that's why I say I'm not smart enough, I think, to keep up on sports and pop culture. I feel dumb compared to the people who know all that.
Yeah, and I'm feeling dumb right now. I can't think of Clay Aiken.
Clay Aiken, yeah.
Clay Aiken, yeah. He won his primary race. I guess he's going to run for Congress as a Democrat. And, Good. We'll get him in there. We'll get Sander Fluke in there. We'll get Michael Sam in politics someday, too. So, these people are going to be left to live in the world that they created. And that's...
Well, he's running as Renee Elmers, who, if we had a good primary, that would be considered a prime rhino amnesty-granting, tax-raising target of the Tea Party. So, there may be some thought as to whether in Renee Elmer's seat, the incumbent Republican, or some places that maybe maybe Eric Cantor in Virginia, maybe even John Boehner in Ohio. Some people are talking they might work for the Democrat. Now, if you're in the Republican Party, you might get kicked out. So you have to think long and hard about that. But there are some people thinking that maybe we could do better off with a reality star, or what he was, Idol star. Hold on, let me check.
American Idol. American Idol.
At least, look, my brother had this theory about Gerald Ford. He said, if we're gonna pay the guy that much money, at least we should be entertained. So if we're gonna have Clay Aiken, at least if he can sing, at least we get something out of the deal,
Maybe he can give free concerts on the Mall in Washington. That would be a great idea.
Okay. Can I take a couple minutes now? I want to announce something, if you don't mind, my shameless self-promotion, because I'm starting a new company. No, this is not the company a few days ago or the company not last week. This is something birthed here yesterday on the Conservative Commanders Radio Show.
All right. Well, wait a minute. John Forsythe Jr., can we find drum rolls on the computer real quick?
Yeah, we were organized.
Do you want to wait for drum rolls, John?
How long do I have to wait?
I don't know. We're Googling it right now. We're looking for a drum roll.
I could live.
All right. Well, hold on. This ought to be pretty a drum roll, John, if we can. What do you got there, buddy? Just anything, really.
Well, let's just.
Yeah. All right. Wait a minute. Okay. Here we go. All right, John, go ahead. We made the drum roll.
All right. So anyway, I'm starting a new company called Boondoggles Consolidated, and I'm gonna sell anti-global warming pills.
Anti-global warming pills.
Yes. If you take our anti-global warming pills, you will not suffer any negative effects from global warming.
Okay.
And then you may ask, well, John, does it work? Go ahead. You're supposed to ask.
Oh, John, do you really think that'll work?
Well, we guarantee there's as much scientific evidence that our anti-global warming pills will work as there is evidence that the humans are causing global warming. So we're pretty confident about that. So,
well, John, you might be onto something, and I'll tell you why. Because the scientists will tell you one of the major contributors to global warming gases are cow flagellants. Okay, so if cow flagellants is aiding the gases that are contributing to global warming, could that same thing be said for human flagellants gases? So maybe your anti-global warming pill can help in two ways, John. Number one, to help ward off the effects of global warming, and help ward off global warming itself by eliminating those gases that humans and we can give these pills to cows too. There you go, John.
Right, so we can have more expensive industrial size anti-global warming pills and charge even more for that. And of course, food supplement is not regulated by the FDA. So if we just call it a food supplement, then and then later maybe I'll sell some invisibility pills or.
John, by the time the Food and Drug Administration or whoever controls food supplements gets around to figuring out your new pill is a fraud, you'll make a lot of money.
I think that was the part yesterday. My grandmother used to joke, if we're so smart, why aren't we rich? My mother's mother. And so that's what made me think, if all these other people are going to make money. I mean, look at the money. At least we'd be more honest than Al Gore's money that he made.
Yeah. I agree with that. Hey, John, you know what? Let's take our break now, okay? And you can reset your phone modem there, right?
Yeah.
All right, we are going to take a break. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader. Coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia. The way we do, Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And don't forget, you can now hear us anytime, day or night, from your telephone by calling 832-999-1199. Please don't go away. John and I will be right back.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening, please log on to patriotsride.org, patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m. when we end our live broadcast, if you'd like to hear a repeat of yesterday's show, please log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com, CPRWorldwideMedia.com. And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon, place you can find that is at VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And with that, Jonathan Mosley, are you back with us with a reset modem?
I am, although I think our vonage is overmodulating anyway, so I'm just going to pretend I understand what you're saying. People use this.
Thanks a lot, you know. That's the secret to my success, I guess.
Yeah,
Some people pretending to understand what I'm saying. There you go.
Right. Anyway, so a couple other things going on here. First, I'm going to give some news. I was doing a little work for Larry Klayman with Freedom Watch USA, and and he hasn't gotten around to announcing it yet, but several Nevada lawmakers, and Larry Klayman's used to be Judicial Watch. He founded Judicial Watch. Now he left and ran for U.S. Senate, and then started Freedom Watch USA. And they are going after Harry Reid and the Bureau of Land Management in a big way, though they've taken the first steps of filing some Freedom of Information Act requests. And I guess we're in the process of getting a press release out there. But that's really not over. They're going after. They're going to go after. The several of the groups who are out there have complained about the treatment by law enforcement. Law enforcement is investigating them, the FBI. Everybody seems to be investigating everybody. They're very upset that the sheriff in Clark County was useless, was part of the problem. And what Larry Klayman is looking into is the connections between the Reid family and some of all these activities. And it's been filed on behalf of Assemblywoman Michelle Fior of Nevada. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Senator Don Gustavin. How is that? This is spelled Gustavin of Nevada. Assemblyman Jim Wheeler. Assemblyman John Ellison. Sheriff Denny Payman of Jackson County, Kentucky. Representative Matt Shea of Washington. Delegate Don Dwyer of Maryland. Richard Mack, former sheriff of Graham County. And on and on. So this is not going away, and we hope that they, because what Larry Klayman typically does is he gets some information, they don't cooperate, and then he sues them and pries it out one brick at a time, and forces them to give up the documents. What's not happening in the U.S. House of Representatives. So watch this space.
All right. Hey, John, before you go on to your next item, why don't we go over our list of guests for today?
All right, great. We're going to start out with, from the state of Delaware, an activist, Faye Vaushel, who writes extensively, but is getting her feet wet on radio. She's going to talk about the double standards on Christians, the satanic mass that was planned at Harvard, and many news items about the hypocrisy concerning the treatment of different religions, and how Christianity is the only religion that's okay to attack. Then we're going to have somewhat similar, but more against the United Nations. Stefano Gennarini, my brother would know how to pronounce the Italian here. Stefano Gennarini is from the Catholic Family and Human Rights Institute, and he's going to talk to us. And I've seen this a little bit on Fox News, but this is definitely for real. The United Nations was investigating, the United Nations Committee on Torture was investigating the Catholic Church and the Vatican on the grounds that the Catholic Church is against abortion. So they're trying to accuse the Catholic Church of torture for not supporting abortion. And the Catholic Church has responded by pointing out that abortion is torture. And I think that this has more to do, in my mind, with the United Nations and how useless and sold out to nonsense the United Nations is than the Catholic Church per se. But I think it's going to be an interesting conversation all around. And that will be good. Then we're going to invite back Dr. Eliana Johnson, who is, as you recall, an escapee of communism when she lived in Romania, and is very familiar with communism and socialism. She's a lifelong teacher, and she's written about the comparisons with communism in the United States. She's going to tackle the income inequality campaign, which I think is a great one, half a dozen to the Republican Party, to the conservative wing, one of these PR pushes for low information voters that I think is of severe importance in us being able to respond to it. And she's going to dissect income inequality and what it really means beyond the buzzwords near the end of our show.
All right. As you mentioned, at 3:35, we're going to have Faye Vaushel on talking about this satanic mass at Harvard. I was just made aware of this just the other day. John, for our listeners who aren't aware of this, could you kind of give some details of this satanic mass that has been planned for Harvard?
Well, I'm really kind of depending on her to explain some of that in more detail, but I'm afraid I don't know, except that it was very elaborate, and I expect she has really gone into that in great detail. I will say this: quite a while ago, I was at Cambridge, at Massachusetts, to do some work in organizing college students, and I was appalled at how off the planet the liberalism is there. I mean, you literally have pagan things advertised. It's just completely off the charts in that area around Harvard and everything like that. But they were going to have, the question is, I think the assumption is that this was a direct mockery of the Catholic Church. I assume that's the idea. And it was canceled at the last minute, and because they couldn't find another venue for it. But I don't think that they're going to stop trying to poke Christians in the eye.
Well, it may be an attempt to take another shot at the Catholic Church, but when I first heard about this, John, my thought is, now, if any organized Christian religion try to hold a mass at Harvard, or a Jewish synagogue wanted to hold a mass at Harvard, of course they would be denied access. Okay? So why are the officials at Harvard allowing a satanic cult to do what they wouldn't let Christian or Jewish or any other organized religion do?
Well, that's the big question. And we have an example that the Florida pastor who wanted to burn the Korans. Remember how he was universally condemned everywhere. The New York Times apologized for the Nazis in the 1930s. He was treated worse than a Nazi in terms of his being rejected. But until there was this public outcry, this official event was going forward at Harvard. It was only after all this public outcry that it came under pressure. If there hadn't been Fox News back in the days when we just had ABC, CBS, and NBC, it would have gone on.
Mm-hmm. All right, John. Another thing I wanted to mention to our listeners out there, talking about the absurdities of what liberals are doing. There is a woman that has posted a video of her going through an abortion on the internet. And one of the comments that she made about posting this video was she had a sonogram taken of her baby before the abortion, and she says that if her apartment would catch fire, the first thing that she would run and grab to save would be this sonogram of the baby that she just aborted. I mean, how ridiculous is stuff like this? And this is what's going on. It is beyond sick.
That's so twisted. I cannot even begin to think about how twisted it is. That's just you think about. I mean, that's we're talking the Sodom and Gomorrah territory.
Now this woman, she's 25 years old. She works in an abortion clinic, and by the way, she didn't tell her boyfriend about the abortion, nor did she tell him about the posting the video of her going through an abortion on the internet.
It was his child as much as hers.
His child, yeah. Hey, John, we're up against a break, so please hold on. We are going to take that break. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios. That of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, the way we do, Monday through Friday, from 3 to 5 p.m. And around the world, Eastern Time that is, and around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And now you can hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. Today's show is brought to you by the First Amendment, and it is protected by the Second. Be right back.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811, PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio. A quick program note. If you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening, please log on to patriotsride.org, patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m., when we end our live broadcast this afternoon, if you'd like to hear a replay of yesterday's show, log on to cprworldwidemedia.com, cprworldwidemedia.com. And if you'd like to hear a repeat of today's show tomorrow afternoon, the place for that is vigilantlibertyradio.us. And don't forget, you can now hear our show anytime day or night by calling 832-999-1199. There's no extra charge for this call, so if you're using a phone with unlimited access or your cell phone with free minutes, there you go. So, John Mosley, we do have our first guest with us. Will you please make the introduction?
All right. Thank great. Faye Vachel holds a Master of Divinity from Princeton Theological Seminary, where she was awarded the seminary's prize for excellence in systematic theology. She was selected one of the Delaware Republican Party's winning women, class of 2008. Her articles have been published in American Thinker, National Review, and Real Clear Religion. And she's been a very active participant in Delaware conservative politics over the last number of years, including posting at an important website there, Delaware Politics. So welcome to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show, Faye Vachel.
Thanks, John. It's good to be on the air with you.
All right, okay. Well, we were, in fact, we were just previewing some of the things and talking before the break about the Satanic Mass at Harvard, and I had to say I want to really depend upon you to explain to us what we know about what's going on there, and you want to talk more generally about the double standard in the treatment of Christianity. Given Rick Trader's question a few moments ago, what do we know about this event up in Harvard?
Well, evidently it was the idea of one Lucian Greaves, who is a New York Satanic Temple spokesman. And it was his idea to conduct a black mass, supposedly for quote-unquote educational purposes. But it could not help but be perceived, and in fact was perceived by Catholics in the Boston area and across the nation, as an attack on Catholicism and Christianity itself. There couldn't be a greater poke in the eye than conducting a black mass, which is the exact antithesis of the sacred Catholic Mass. The Eucharist has always been at the heart of the Catholic worship, and to have it degraded by a satanic mass was a complete attack, not only against Catholics, I might add, but against Christians in general.
Mm-hmm. Of course, the Eucharist, especially, is not unique to the Catholic Church.
No.
The details, perhaps, but it is the things. Now, do you remember the founding of Harvard?
I do, as a matter of fact, and I was thinking how far Harvard has fallen from its foundations. It was founded by a minister by the name of John Harvard, and he donated half of his estate and his entire library to Harvard. It's the oldest educational institution in America. In fact, they even had a motto, Truth for Christ and the Church. And its purpose was that education was supposed to be founded on Christ as the only foundation of all sound learning and knowledge. So to see how far Harvard has come from its foundations is absolutely astonishing and horrifying.
Yeah, and was this what was the status with the university? Was this you say it was supposed to be for educational purposes?
Mm-hmm.
Was this like an official a student event, or do we know?
Yeah, it was supposed to be a student event, and as I said, supposedly for educational purposes, so that people would know what this is. But they got such a reaction from Catholic students on campus and other Christian students, and from the Catholic Church, that they decided they were going to relocate it, because they had received what Greaves called vitriolic hate mail, meaning don't conduct a black mass on the Harvard campus. So he said that Greaves said that they were going to stage a black mass ceremony at the Hong Kong Lounge in Harvard Square to reaffirm their respect for the satanic faith. Now, how that went down, the Boston Globe said that actually it seemed to have completely fizzled out. And the people at the lounge reported that they didn't see anything unusual going on. So it fizzled out because Christians took a stand and said this is absolutely outrageous.
Right now, of course, you wouldn't be able to have a similar thing for Christians or anything like that.
And no, the thing that is alarming about this, even though they have backed down from conducting the mass on campus, is that it represents a virulent anti-Christian bias that is popping up all over the country. There is even an effort to erect a statue of Satan in Oklahoma City in opposition to the fact that there is a big monument of the Ten Commandments there. And that is, there are a huge number of evangelicals and fundamentalists in Oklahoma. It's a very conservative, very widely Christian state. And there again, we have this complete anti-Christian poke in the eye. You have to wonder, really, how many Satanists there are. Our country is, I think it's 87%, at least nominal Christian. And of the other 13%, we have Jews, we have Muslims. I don't think we have a lot of Satanists. I don't think that we have to go into that kind of diversity. So back to my major point, it's simply it's an attack on Christianity in general.
Are you think, an attempt to diminish Christianity in America, to silence?
I do. I think that we have seen Christians targeted continually. And it's not an episode, even though we read about it as episodic events, it shows a trend. I think, for instance, of the twin Christian brothers whose HGTV show was canceled because Right-Wing Watch complained that their Christian stance was anti-gay. We even had, I think I read this today, there are atheists protesting the telephone poles because they're shaped like a cross. We have attempts to take the symbol of the cross out of the public square, just eradicate it. So yes, I would say there's an anti-Christian trend, which I think finds its genesis not only in the early Christian church, it's been going on since the early Christian church, but particularly in the French Revolution, with the writings of some of the more radical Enlightenment authors, but also particularly with the Marquis de Sade, who specialized in trashing the Catholic Church and the Catholic Mass, complete with sex orgies.
Well, we're going to have a 2-minute break here in just a moment, but it sounds like you see that there's an attempt to alter the landscape by tearing down or pushing down the Christianity and the Catholic Church, not just isolated events that not just events that are annoying, but events that are calculated to change the America we live in.
I agree.
Yeah. Rick Crater, are we up on a break?
Yeah, we are, John. We're going to take that break right now. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philadelphia, and around the world on the internet via our internet broadcast partners, CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, and VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And don't forget, you can hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. And check out our websites, ConservativeCommandosRadioShow.com and CCRShow.com. 2 different sites, different information on each one. We'll be right back.
Oh, how I'm longing for
last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's A-B-A-C-O. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host every day, Rick Trader, your co-host for today, Jonathan Mosley, that's me, and our guest for this half hour, Faye Boschel. We were just finishing up, we were just mentioning before the break what I think is a theme that there is an overarching push to alter the America we live in, not simply to, I think there is a desire to annoy Christians just for the sake of being mean, but more importantly, a plan to suppress Christianity and change the country we live in. And I want to just take a moment to say that I'm going to alter a famous saying. I think we need to update it and make it more real, which is that the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for you to do nothing. Or just to be too busy, or to be tired, or to worry too much. That it's really up to us to be involved, but it's important to know what's going on. So you've been studying some of this happening around the country, Faye Boschel, as I understand.
I have. I'm very, very concerned, and I really agree with a Princeton professor by the name of Robert George. He's considered a one-man think tank for conservatives. And there was a conference held in which about 800 Catholic leaders attended. And he said he had a somber message for them. He said the days of acceptable Christianity are over, and the days of comfortable Catholicism are past. Kind of goes along with your statement, John, that we need to be involved and we need to protest this. He went on to say that there's a real price now going to be demanded of all committed believers, that socially acceptable, what he calls tame Catholics who are ashamed of the gospel of Christ, need not apply in this battle, and that there will be increased costs for Catholics and other Christians who stand up for traditional teachings on the dignity of human life and marriage. He concluded, he said, to believe in the gospel these days is to make oneself a marked man or woman. And I agree with him. I think that the tone of this administration, the tone of academia and other leftist-leaning institutions has gotten more and more radical and more anti-Christian over the last few years. I see it accelerating, and I think that Professor George is absolutely right.
You know, Faye, we're also seeing this around the world in places like Egypt,
Yes.
places like Syria, places like Nigeria, Uganda, and Africa, where Christians are being persecuted, slaughtered, kidnapped, beaten, raped, robbed for their beliefs. And I almost wonder, Faye, if it isn't time for Christians to start to defend themselves physically.
Well, I have thought about that long and hard, and one of the things that I have thought about often is the pacifistic trend of Christians. And I think that there is a legitimate need for Christians to defend themselves and others. I think, for instance, of the kidnapping of these 200-some girls in Nigeria. And I think of Michelle Obama's little poster, #BringBackOurGirls.
Right.
Sentiment is not going to effectuate the release of those kidnapped girls, and the terrorists who have kidnapped them have threatened to sell them into sex slavery or even to kill them. Now, it seems to me that the response of Christians and non-Christians who have any kind of moral principle would be, send in a team and get those girls out now. Don't sit around muttering platitudes. And yes, I believe in defense of Christians. I believe that they should resort to self-defense. I do not believe in total pacifism, whereby Christians just sit and allow these things to happen to themselves and to their families. I realize some can't do it. I understand that. But I'm talking about belief in total pacifism.
You know, Faye...
response was, get a SEAL team.
Sure, yeah. Faye, and one of the... have you noticed that Muslims aren't being attacked? That Muslims are almost feared? And the reason they're feared is because they are militant. And I think the reason that Christianity has become a target, Catholicism has become a target, Judaism has become a target, is because we've allowed ourselves to become a target by not defending ourselves. Let me give you an example, Faye.
Sure.
Do you remember back in the 1980s, all the kidnappings of Americans in Beirut?
Yes, I do.
Did you ever hear of a Russian kidnapped in Beirut in the 1980s?
Not that I remember.
There was one. There was one. Now, remember, this was the time of the Soviet Union. There was one Russian, that was kidnapped in the Soviet Union. Well, the Russians found out who did the kidnapping. They couldn't get to the kidnapper, but they got to his brother. They kidnapped his brother. They removed his ear and a part of the male anatomy, and they sent it to the group of the kidnappers. The Russian was released, and there was no further kidnapping of any Russians in Lebanon, while Americans continued to be kidnapped and held hostage. Now, does that give you a little indication, Faye, that if these groups do not fear you, they are going to take advantage of you, but if they fear you, they're going to leave you alone?
Well, I agree about the fear factor. I do. I think that, well, let's put it this way. The military is filled with devout Christians who believe in the defense of our nation and who believe in protecting those.
But Faye, sorry to interrupt. You're right. Our military is filled with Christians, but unless the leadership at the top, starting with the commander-in-chief, does not have the guts to use that military in a proper way, doesn't matter how many Christians are in the military. Okay, I happen to believe that the commander-in-chief right now is not a Christian. I believe that he is, if nothing else, at least a Muslim sympathizer. And this is why a lot of the things that are happening around the world are taking place. Sorry, John, didn't mean to interrupt, but sometimes...
Well, if I can make a comment, Faye, unless you're burning to respond.
Go ahead.
You know, I'm not myself a Catholic. I came from a family of Catholics, before, the generation before me. But the Catholic Church gave us very detailed just war theory, very elaborate and profound analysis of that. Maybe we need some of that kind of scholarship, because it seems to me that if someone comes along and punches me like that knockout game, and I say, I choose to forgive you, I'm not going to do anything about it. But I know that if I don't do anything about it, they're going to go down the street and punch somebody else.
Right.
Now, am I turning my own cheek, or am I putting that other person in danger?
Here's the thing. See, maybe I'll put it on a family level. I used to tell my kids, don't start a fight, but if someone starts a fight with you, finish it. And that's the way I feel about things like the knockout game. This goes back to my point about extreme Christian pacifism. Now, I admire a pacifist who says, okay, you can kill me. I just don't think that goes along with a just war theory. The theory of just war starts with persons. It starts with a one-on-one. Starts with the guy who feels his family is threatened when somebody rushes in to his home and threatens to kill his wife. And
Hey, Faye, I'm sorry. I hate to interrupt, but I got to jump in again. During the First World War, there was a pacifist. His name was Alvin York. And he was drafted into the Army, and he tried to get a deferment, okay? He didn't get that deferment, and he was deployed to France during the First World War. Sergeant York became one of our great military heroes by saving his fellow troopers. And if you want to believe the movie that was made about him, he was asked, you being a pacifist, how were you able to kill Germans and save your fellow soldiers? And what he said was, it seemed to me the people shooting at us were killing us, and by doing what I did, saved lives.
Well, exactly. I'm saying, if a pacifist, is willing to be killed, I think most of them, in the final analysis, aren't.
I paraphrased that, but watch the movie Sergeant York, and he believed he was actually saving lives by doing what he did. Hey, Faye, we got to run.
Okay.
We appreciate you having you on with us. Do you have a website or anything?
I don't.
Okay. Well, we've got to have you back, all right?
Okay, thank you. All
right, with that, we're going to take a break right now, and you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you live from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philly, the way we do, Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and around the world on the internet via CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, VigilantLibertyRadio.us, and don't forget, you can now hear our show anytime, day or night, by calling 832-999-1199. Don't go away. John and I will be right back with our next guest.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, fellow patriots. And don't forget, if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening Eastern Time, log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m., when we end our live broadcast, if you haven't gotten enough and would like to hear a rebroadcast of yesterday's show, please log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com, CPRWorldwideMedia.com. And you can also hear a rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon at VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And with that, Jonathan Mosley, we do have our next guest with us. Will you please make the introduction?
Yes, Stefano Gunnarini is director at the Center for Legal Studies at the Catholic Family and Human Rights Institute. Stefano earned a Juris Doctor from Notre Dame Law School in Indiana in 2011 and was a Blackstone Legal Fellow in 2009. Before attending law school, Stefano trained to be a priest at the House of Formation in London and attended, I don't know how to pronounce it, Higher Thrope College, University of London, where he obtained a Bachelor in Theology. He has lived and worked in the United States, the United Kingdom, and Italy, and worked as a missionary in Nigeria, the West Indies, and Israel. He's fluent in Italian and Spanish. Welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show, Stefano Gannarini.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, first of all, my brother would know how to pronounce your name correctly, but help me out if I got that wrong.
Stefano Gannarini.
Gannarini. Okay. Sorry about that. You are here from the Catholic Family and Human Rights Institute, and you have some new interesting news out. But just why don't we start with tell us about the Catholic Family and Human Rights Institute and your involvement in this.
Yeah, CFAM, as we're known, a Catholic Family and Human Rights Institute, is a mouthful, so we just go by the name of CFAM. It was formed in 1997, and following the call of John Paul II for Catholics to be involved in public life, specifically at the UN. And what we do is we're a research-focused institution, and we carry out research on UN policy, especially involving life and family. We also do lobbying at the UN, contacting delegates, informing the debate there on these social issues. And we also have a student program and outreach.
You know, that this is interesting. I didn't know this. I've always maintained that the discussion in Republican politics about family values was just to let the government leave us alone as families. It was not what everybody says it is. It sounds like you're concerned with how government and the United Nations may be impacting families.
Yeah, without a doubt. We're concerned that the United Nations is really endorsing policies that are, not helpful for families, and also especially policies that undermine the human dignity, especially with regards to abortion. So, the United Nations acts as a sort of like a clearinghouse for policies for all countries in the world, and the policies that are recommended by the United Nations very often end up being adopted by countries individually, especially by countries that are emerging democracy, or are countries that don't have such a robust governance, and so they'll depend on the help of the United Nations for deciding what policies to adopt.
I've definitely seen that. They're much more vulnerable than, say, the United States. So you're keeping an eye on the United Nations, and I'm sure you see a lot of amazing things, but you're reporting something that you found out recently about the Catholic. And I saw this mentioned briefly on the Fox News. One would say, "Oh, come on, this can't possibly be true," but I've seen it reported elsewhere. Briefly, because of you, where did this come from? What did you find out?
Well, basically, last week, the UN Committee Against Torture, which is a fairly obscure body that meets in Geneva. They're sort of a body of experts. They meet 3 to 4 times a year, and they review the record of countries that are parties to this treaty against torture. The United States is a party to that treaty as well. And the Vatican is a party to that treaty. And so they were reviewing the record of the Vatican under the treaty. And basically they told the Vatican that the Catholic teaching on abortion is a form of torture, amongst other things. So this is, pretty shocking for many people who would never think of Catholic teaching on abortion as torture. And it really is a case where these treaty bodies are being instrumentalized by, powerful lobbies to promote abortion as a human right.
There's a lot of things in here that I don't know if they're within your, your area of looking at things, but the tendency to change words to promote a political agenda is something that's been a concern of mine. That torture is, say, violence and anything that makes anybody feel bad, and then the last thing is a gigantic loophole into which we can put anything. Is there any rational? Are they what argument are they attempting to make, if there is any rational argument for what they're saying?
Well, that's really difficult. In fact, there's very little rational argument there. And it's true, as you said. I mean, these treaties get interpreted so vaguely that in the end, you don't really know what's in the treaty anymore, and you don't really know what criteria is being used to interpret the treaty, really. And it seems that it's just the treaty is just being instrumentalized politically. But the experts were arguing that Catholic teaching on abortion stigmatizes women who undergo abortions and doctors who provide abortions, and that this stigma, this discrimination that it causes is a form of torture. They are also saying that the Catholics, whether through clergy or the Catholic hierarchy, the bishops and so on, that basically their activities against abortion politically as well constitutes form of torture, which is, it's a fairly convoluted argument and it's difficult to understand. But if you're familiar with the work of these UN committees, it isn't that shocking because they are so used to interpreting these treaties so broadly and vaguely.
Well, and what's interesting too is again, there are so many ways we could go from here on this, but one thing that concerns me is that people know the tricks that are played on, and I don't know your positioning from your organization, but for me, I would say that this tends to be on the left or the anti-traditional movement. There's this tendency to politicize everything. For example, this is not the jurisdiction of this committee, and yet there's this total war. The cultural war is this total war where every instrument you say it is co-opted by this, even if it has nothing to do with the work it's supposed to be doing. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's right. It's certainly the committees are certainly going beyond their mandate in the UN speak, if you like. That's what you would say. These committees have a limited mandate. They're simply supposed to review the reports of states that are parties to the treaty, and they may offer comments on these reports. But their role was never envisioned as one where they're sort of courts or where they're looking at every piece of legislation of these countries to see if they are in conformity to the Convention Against Torture. This really is about, their role is about receiving reports of state parties. The focus is on what state parties are doing, and it's not about what the committees say the state's parties should be doing. But we see this all the time, and this isn't the only UN committee that does this. And, that's why the United States is so cautious about ratifying any further UN treaties. Recently, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability, which is another UN treaty, came up for ratification in the Senate. This was only in 2013, and it wasn't ratified. And one of the reasons is because these committees are just run amok.
And people should understand, and most judges and lawyers don't, that a treaty under the Constitution is treated as the supreme law of the land. That's right. The supremacy clause that says the Constitution, the laws created under the Constitution, and treaties are the supreme law of the land. So somebody comes up with something that sounds nice in its title, but doesn't really have the understanding of how things actually work, may get sucked into some of this nonsense. Now, where is this?
Once you sign a treaty, you really are sort of straitjacketing the American people with regards to how they can legislate on the subjects covered in the treaty. Americans are cautious about, giving away that, sovereign authority to legislate on issues like disabilities, like the rights of children.
Well, for those who may say, now I've seen this reported, National Review is commenting on this, CNS News, but for those who say, "Oh, come on, this can't possibly be true," where is this being expressed in the United Nations committee structure? How is this coming out? You know what I'm saying? Where are they saying this?
Well, these committees like to think that they have the final say on what these treaties mean, but in actual fact, it's state parties that have, the final authority to interpret treaties. So, the comments, the suggestions, recommendations of these committees, they're not binding. And under international law, it's states parties to a treaty that have the final authority to interpret the treaty. So in that sense, it happens all the time that state parties push back against the comments of the committee, and they say, well, we don't agree with that. And of course,
what I mean is saying this in writing.
That's this case of last week was an interactive dialogue. That's what they call it at the UN. It's just simply a meeting, a live meeting between representatives of the Holy See and members of the committee, and they met in Geneva. But then, by the end of this month, the committee will issue its comments in writing.
We have to take a break. Can you hold on for 2 minutes?
Certainly.
Thanks.
Okay, we're taking that break right now. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader. And don't forget, today's show is brought to you by the First Amendment, and it is protected by the Second. And please check out our websites, conservativecommandosradioshow.com and ccrshow.com. Don't go away. Jonathan Mosley and I will be right back with more with our guest.
They say I'm crazy. I really don't care. That's my prerogative. They say I'm nasty, but oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, the smiling coast I know, only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Viden, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with your host every day, Rick Trader, and your co-host for today, John Mosley, me. And we're going to return to our guest, Stefano Gennarini, talking about the United Nations and their broadside against the Catholic Church on abortion. And I was going to say I've noticed this in some other places that this is coming out. And Stefano, I guess the Vatican has pushed back on this. Is that correct?
That's right. The Vatican has pushed back with strong words to the experts. It told them this was a direct violation of freedom of religion. And then it also told in very unambiguously that, in fact, it's abortion that constitutes torture. The Archbishop Tomasi, who represents the Holy See in Geneva, the UN, told the committee that abortion is torture, and it described how several countries, including Canada, the United Kingdom, allow late-term abortion, where children are allowed to be born and then left to die or killed once outside the womb.
So the Vatican's taking this seriously.
The Vatican takes it very seriously because the Vatican, ratified the Convention Against Torture because it's a very uncontroversial issue. It's not political. Nobody agrees with torture, and so they see this attempt of the committees to politicize the issue of torture, to attack Catholic teaching on abortion as a violation of religious freedom and an attempt to silence, the pro-life position.
Well, and you can see when a state, Vatican being treated as a state, and other states are deciding whether or not to join a treaty, you would never imagine. I mean, you're being sold a bill of goods, as they say, that the purpose that it's supposed to have, the reason why people would join the treaty, it would never tip you off that you were going to be dealing with something like this.
That's right. I mean, there was no notion, that this committee would use the treaty to promote abortion as a right under any circumstance, and the Vatican certainly did not intend for the treaty to be interpreted this way. But, these committees are very unaccountable, and these experts are unelected. Ironically, it was the American expert who served for 10 years on the U.S. Commission for Religious Freedom and was the one who was most vocal on this issue of abortion. And she was the one who was most confrontational of the Holy See on its teaching on abortion.
Wait, you're saying the American representative was critical of the Holy See?
That's right. It was her name is Felice Dare, and she's an American expert, and she served for 10 years on the U.S. Commission for Religious Freedom, and she was the one who asked all the tough questions about abortion. She said that the Church's teaching on abortion was a concern, that women should have the right to choose, and she was the one who really spoke, that really also ignored the responses of the representatives of the Holy See, really making this into a political attack, which is one of the further reason why the United States are so cautious. That's why we're so cautious about entering into these treaties, because even the people we put on these committees end up being bad.
Well, and I talk about the last years, the 5 years I spent in the U.S. Department of Education, idealistically hoping to do some good, but not, and because the people who are interested in that kind of thing are not necessarily your down the middle of the road person. 10 years ago means that this person was appointed during the Bush administration, right?
No, she was appointed by Clinton originally on the committee, but she stayed. She was reappointed, or she was, her name was put forward again during the Bush years. So yeah, it's really troubling. What are there's very little you can do, and even the little effective control that you could have over these committees is undermined in this case. And as you said, the sort of people who are attracted to the United Nations and to these UN committees, unfortunately, are the very people you do not want there.
Well said.
It's something that Professor Rabkin, Jeremy Rabkin, who's an expert in international law, says as well. You get these people who really believe in world governments, and that more government is going to solve everything.
Yeah, you're not going to have too many conservatives going to work for the United Nations and on the Committee on Torture and things like that, from my perspective. But that's well. Anyway, I mean, there could not. I know you're not appearing from a theological analysis of our country, but if I were to give some advice to the Catholics PR department or whatever, it's time maybe to come back and really preach the Bible on, where it talks about those who call good evil and evil good. I mean, you could not have a more appalling example of turning the world upside down to call, the murder of an unborn baby is okay, but simply, simple talk, for example. I don't think the Vatican has sent any armies into these developing countries and said you can't do things. They're just saying this is what we think, and that is being attacked. The world's upside down.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And but one of the reasons the Vatican is still very involved with the United Nations, including with ratifying these treaties and going and meeting with the experts, is because they want to get the truth out. They want to preach the truth. They want to try and give some light, even in these dark places. And that's why the words of Archbishop Tommasi to the experts about late-term abortion being a form of torture. And his tone was really upset when he spoke about abortion, because he was really trying to highlight the hypocrisy of this, of saying that denying women an abortion is a form of torture, while he's there saying, well, look at what's happening to these unborn children that are being, delivered alive and left to die or killed outside the womb. And so the Holy See really wants to engage with the UN system simply because it feels that even in that darkest of place, there needs to be someone who says the truth, a moral voice, if you like.
Well, Stefano Gennarini, I think the Vatican probably has more foresight and has always had more foresight in that respect. A lot of other institutions in the United States of America, are kind of sunshine patriots when it comes to fighting some of these things. But I think when you, it's very hard when we're too nice for too long, then to suddenly come back and make our point without sounding strident. Sometimes it requires more of a sustained effort. We got probably less than a minute left, and this raises so many questions. I just have to, I guess, arbitrarily park this discussion maybe for next time. Hope to have you come back and look at this again. But I do think. Oh, I want to mention we had a guest about 6 months ago, I guess, who talked about being in government analogous to the United Nations as a minister, being a missionary, to say to the United Nations.
Yes, absolutely. And it's really important for people to engage with the UN. It's not because it's easy for Americans to forget about it. If anyone wants more information, they can look up c-fam.org, and we report on everything that's going on in the UN with regards to family and life every week.
Well, that's a perfect wrap-up. So it's c-fam.org?
That's right.
I'm glad to hear about your organization. Please let us know if you have an update, and we'd like to continue this conversation.
Absolutely, John. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you, Stefano Gennarini from the Catholic Family, the whole name, Catholic Family and Human Rights Institute, and Rick Schrader, back to you.
We're going to take a break. You're listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Schrader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360 in Philadelphia, our flagship station. The way we do, Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern, and around the world on the internet via CPRWorldwideMedia.com, PatriotsRide.org, VigilantLibertyRadio.us. And please don't forget you can call and hear our show anytime, day or night, from any phone by dialing 832-999-1199. Don't go away. John and I will be right back.
What does it take to be the leader in production systems technology? To be the one company that solves production problems at any plant, for any product, and with any technology? It takes a 30-year record of success. It takes total mastery of complex technologies with a history of delivering success every time, without fail. Only one company can claim that high ground in manufacturing line optimization, data automation, and systems integration, and that's Philadelphia Control Systems. In factories worldwide, Philadelphia Control Systems programs, software, and engineering solutions deliver optimal performance and output flow with a record that can't be matched. Any plant, any product, any technology. Philadelphia Control Systems, the leader in production automation since 1982. 800-335-9811. PCS4automation.com. That's PCS, the number 4, automation.com.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glassboro, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittle.sportshop.com.
The Obama attack on our Constitution continues. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com and join J.D. Manier and Christina Lamb and hundreds of Reagan conservative commandos who demand our country return to its founding documents and principles. We are part of the nation's oldest and largest GOP volunteer organization, the National Federation of Republican Assemblies. We register voters, endorse conservative candidates, and dig deep to give you the truth on the big issues. We are fighting to do what Lincoln proclaimed 150 years ago. Let the people know the facts and the nation will be free. Help support the Conservative Commando Radio Show with your donation today. Log on to INRASuperPAC.com. INRASuperPAC.com.
Now hear this. Man your battle stations.
You can call the Conservative Commandos Radio Show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
And if you'd like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show at 10:10 this evening Eastern Time, please log on to patriotsride.org. That's patriotsride.org. And at 5 p.m., when our live broadcast ends, if you haven't gotten enough of this, please log on to CPRWorldwideMedia.com, CPRWorldwideMedia.com for a rebroadcast of yesterday's show, and you can also hear a rebroadcast of today's show tomorrow afternoon at vigilantlibertyradio.us. And don't forget, you can hear our show anytime, day or night, from any telephone by dialing 832-999-1199. Now, there's no extra charge for this call, so if you're using a phone with unlimited access, there you go, you're in like Flynn. And John Mosley, our next guest, is with us. Please make the introduction.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Ileana Johnson Poe is part of the American by Choice movement, a very legal immigrant who has chosen to be part of the United States of America. She lived under socialism in then-communist Romania. She recently published a book about her 20-year experience with communist life called Echoes of Communism, available at Amazon in paperback and Kindle. Her recent book, UN Agenda 21, Environmental Piracy, was on the bestseller list at Amazon. Ileana Johnson is a retired college professor teaching economics, German, Italian, and Latin concurrently with 30 years teaching experience. Ileana Poe is a frequent freelance writer, often at Canada Free Press, now I think at barbwire.com. She's a speaker and radio commentator. Ileana Poe is a regular guest on Butler on Business on WAFS 1190 in Atlanta, an unsolicited opinion on Republic Broadcasting Network, and Silvio Canto Jr. at Blog Talk Radio from Dallas. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show, Ileana.
Thank you, John. Thank you, guys. I appreciate being invited back.
Yeah, I think you're our, I may have to talk to Rick, but I think you're our favorite Romanian, and perhaps the official Romanian of the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. But I love to hear the stories. I mean, it's kind of like hearing a ghost story. It's informative, but sometimes chilling to hear people who've lived under communism. I've heard a lot of people tell their experiences, and it's very informative, although very sobering. And you are tackling, among your many exploits, the big push to remedy income inequality. What do you think about income inequality as one of the big themes of 2014?
Yes, it has become, of course, euphemism, one of the number one topics among the pundits on the left under social justice, income disparity, income inequality, economic justice. And all this rhetoric, of course, has intensified, as you said, in 2014 because we have more global and Hollywood elites who are trying to confuse and agitate and inflame people who are too busy to inform themselves correctly. As you know, about 50% of the American public does not work and relies on some form of government welfare paid for by the other 50% of the working population. And it is perplexing to me when, for example, the former White House economic advisor Lawrence Summers stated that, quote, the U.S. may well be on the way to becoming a Downton Abbey economy. And,
a what?
Downton Abbey. Downton Abbey, spelled D-O-W-N-T-O-N, is a British television show that highlights a wealthy British family and their servants at the turn of the 20th century. And it seems to me that the 50% of Americans that are already working have become unwilling servants to the other 50% on welfare, whose main job is to vote for the same politicians who promise over and over and deliver more unearned income tax and entitlements by taxing the so-called rich even more. So it is really galling to hear people who pay no taxes. Of course, they do pay sales taxes, but no other taxes. They work and get paid cash, often under the radar of the IRS, receive welfare, earned income tax credit, are paid by unions to show up and protest people who work for a living, and these people demand that the rich are not paying their fair share. So who is victimizing these people who consider themselves poor and downtrodden? And if you ask them and their political representatives who actually become rich in office, voting and implementing policies that keep their constituents poor, it is the rich who are at fault. So personal responsibility for these people plays no role whatsoever in their ill-made choices.
Well, Ileana, if you can hear me, first I'm calling actually from the Bermuda Triangle, so I'm having a little trouble hearing sometimes. My fault here. But something you just said, made me think about it in a way I hadn't before. If half of Americans are working and the other half are living off of what the other people are providing, wouldn't you kind of have to have income inequality? Isn't that like a mathematical necessity?
Of course.
So that's kind of a curious thing right there. Now, how does this... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No. So now the thing is that so many people have described what they experienced under communism. Does this seem familiar to you at all?
Well, yes, it is, because it's leading in the direction of having just one class of poor, the proletariat, who is or was beholden to their handlers, the members of the economic party, or the elite of the Communist Party, not economic party. And we're getting in that direction here because there's all this rhetoric about income inequality, wealth inequality. Even the CEO of PIMCO, Mohammed El-Aryan, said that there is inequality of opportunity, and these are the most important issues for policymakers and the rest of society to address. And I really cannot, it really galls me, because I came to this country specifically for opportunity, because I did not have any opportunity under the so-called equality of communism. We were all equally poor, equally miserable, equally mistreated, equally exploited, and unless you were the child of a Communist Party member, you could not go to school and achieve a doctorate like I did. So for this CEO to say that this country has an inequality of opportunity, that's ridiculous, especially when most recently the so-called dreamers who just got amnestied before the elections, the illegal aliens' children, they are now getting preferential treatment all over the country in terms of scholarships and benefits that the children of Americans are not getting. So how do they get away with saying all these things when the ones who are being mistreated are the children of Americans and Americans in general? And then here's Chairman Alan Greenspan, the former chairman of the Federal Reserve System. He also said, quote, "I consider income inequality the most dangerous part of what's going on in the United States," end of quote. Really? Well, in my opinion, the number one issue or threat to national security is our huge and unpayable national debt, not income inequality, with all due respect to this gentleman.
Interesting, yeah. We're going to have a 2-minute break here coming up soon, too. But maybe we can't get all this out through the break, but the question is, okay, what would you do about ending income inequality other than, well, let's go back to the famous phrase of Karl Marx, from taking from the people who have a lot and giving it to the others, from each according to his ability to each according to his need. I mean, do you see any difference in that? What's the natural consequence of talking about income inequality?
Well, income inequality is just rhetoric for Marxism, and there's really no such thing as income inequality in any type of society that we have ever experimented with on our planet. There has always been income inequality because each individual human being is different, and unless you expect to divide equally the wealth of the entire planet, for a very short period of time you can say, yes, we're all equal, but then those more industrious are going to get ahead of everybody else. So, and again, you will have income inequality. So this is just ridiculous. It's a misnomer. Income equality does not exist and has never existed and will never exist.
Yeah, I think the only thing that we could do about it is basically, again, you could talk about, well, it's like saying, well, I'm against the rain. Like, well, what are you going to do about it? The only thing to do about it would be basically to go to communism, I think, which is you forcibly take from some and give to the other. I'm not sure what else. Now, I guess we should remind people that Ileana Johnson here has taught economics We have to break now, but I wanted to make sure we get that in. You hold on through a 2-minute break.
Of course.
And you are listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Jonathan Mosley and Rick Trader, coming to you from the CCRS studios, that of WNJC 1360, our flagship station in Philly, the way we do Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. and around the world on the internet. Please don't go away.
Oh, how I'm longing for the day when I'm back at Orchid Bay, where the silver water glistens in the sun.
When is the last time you raced a small boat across wide open water? Tired of snow, traffic jams, cold weather? You need a refreshing change of scenery, a world away. The Bahama Islands have vacation rental homes and apartments. Enjoy spectacular nature in the Abacos Islands. Enjoy refreshing Caribbean beauty, fishing, snorkeling, scuba, the beach. www.enjoyabaco.com. That's ABACO. Enjoyabaco.com.
As I sail across the Sea of Abaco, smiling 'cause I know only one more mile to go.
Enjoyabaco.com.
Hi, this is Bob Vide, owner of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. I've had the opportunity to travel in many foreign countries, and I've seen what happens to people when they lose their freedom. I wrote this poem. Give us freedom was the cry as they marched throughout the night. At Concord Bridge in Trenton, for freedom they would fight. To build a nation that would last with peace and liberty, it is a job that's never done if we are to be free. They wrote a declaration to announce that we are free, then a constitution for all the world to see. But this is ink on paper. We must make it last. It must always be defended, and that is quite a task. Today the battle rages for freedom in our land. To save our Constitution, we all must take a stand. We must stand up for freedom in our actions every day, and you can stand up with us. Join the NRA. This is Bob Viden of Bob's Little Sports Shop in Glasper, New Jersey. You may call us at area code 856-881-7575 or visit us online at bobslittlesportshop.com.
You can call the Conservative Commandos radio show at 856-227-1360. Your opinion counts at 856-227-1360.
This is Congressman Alan West, and you're listening to the Conservative Commando Radio Show.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos Radio Show with your host every day, Rick Trader. I'm your co-host for today, John Mosley, and we have our one of our loved frequent guests, Dr. Ileana Johnson, back talking about income inequality and her experience as a teacher of economics and frequent analyst of the U.S. economy on radio and in commentary, and what we think about this. And again, sometimes you have to ask. I find it helpful to ask the question: compared to what? So we have income inequality, and the question is, what are you going to do about it? Doesn't it kind of lead like one shoe dropping, and then the other shoe to the kind of thing that we had in Eastern Europe?
Well, sure. It would be interesting to look at the most recent book by this Keynesian economist. And by the way, a lot of economists are Keynesians. They follow John Maynard Keynes, who was the premier economist in the 20th century, and he's obviously on the left. But this leftist French economist Thomas Piketty wrote a book recently, and it's, I believe, up there at Amazon, and he criticizes capitalism and looks at it through the lenses of Karl Marx or Thomas Malthus and David Ricardo. And he said, and I agree with this one statement, that income inequality would be less of an issue if we had stronger economic growth. Well, how much growth do we have now? 0.1% GDP, which is beyond anemic. The other statement he makes that if we imposed more confiscatory taxes on the wealthiest 10%, then we wouldn't have income inequality, which is, of course, ludicrous. another gentleman piped in, Jared Bernstein, believes that income inequality hurt the economy because the wealthy spend a lower percentage of their income than the non-wealthy. Well, again, this is ridiculous because the rich don't sit on their vast fortunes. Who creates jobs? It's certainly not the poor people. Who buys luxury goods? It is the rich who produces these luxury goods, ordinary people who are glad to have a job. And the same gentleman, Piketty, blamed the financial meltdown on these unscrupulous banks and financial intermediaries who offered credit on increasingly generous terms to poor people who had unequal incomes, forcing them to go into debt. Really, in this view, the consumer were just a hapless victim who had no idea that they could not afford a $500,000 home on a $50,000 a year combined income. I'm sorry, if I only make $50,000 a year, I'm not going to buy a $500,000 home. So they were not guiltless, so to speak. Greenspan again piped in, and he's calling on immigration reform. He said that the economy needs a boost in high-skilled workers. Well, we have a lot of college graduates that are unemployed, willing and able to work, but employers prefer foreign workers because they work for less. There was a study from the Brookings Institution that found that income inequality is much greater in cities like San Francisco with high-flying economies than in more sluggish ones like Wichita, Kansas, and that was a direct quote. And the same French economist Piketty, his solution to income inequality was to place an 80% tax on income above $500,000, to have an annual levy on wealth of 10%, and then use these revenues to finance more redistribution of wealth via programs sponsored by progressive politicians, such as national health and more government jobs, as if we don't have enough of those. But an economist that I really like, Peter Morisi, said that it is, quote, the Democrat governments who do not act responsibly and are thus failing American workers and the middle class. And I totally agree with that. And here is why. Why do we have unequal incomes? Well, even Keynesian economists recognize the following reason for unequal incomes. It has nothing to do with exploitation. As I said earlier, we have different abilities, such as different IQs. Some people have poor health and cannot work, and some have entrepreneurial abilities and others don't. We have differences in intensity of work. Some people work longer hours voluntarily, others less. They take on more jobs, others less, or they labor more intensely than others. Some people take risks. Let's say they invest in a startup company or the stock market or commodities market. They have an invention or they build a prototype. There is also something called compensating wage differentials. What is that? Some jobs are more dangerous, more unpleasant, more demanding, and of course they're going to command a higher pay, a higher income. Well, for example, the night shift versus the day shift, or if you're a miner. Schooling and other types of training, which is called in economic terms human capital, investment in human capital, you're paying high tuition to learn a trade. Should you not be paid more? Some people have more work experience than others. They expect as soon as they get that diploma to make a six-figure salary. It doesn't work out that way. And then there are some people that have inherited wealth. And then there's luck. Wage differentials do exist by chance.
Well, I think Rick Trader, you have a question?
Remember to turn on the microphone. That's the answer. Doctors, you and Jonathan were talking. I was thinking about a quote that I heard, and I did a little Googling, and I think I found it. The American Republic will endure until the day Congress discovers that it can bribe the people with their own money. And what we've got here, Doctor, is exactly that. We have got a Congress that has made promises to people and have written checks that can't be cashed. So with that said, one thing that I've been talking about here on the Conservative Commandos radio show is maybe to save our republic, we've got to change the way we vote. In other words, maybe people that actually pay the taxes should get extra votes. Maybe people that own properties in different municipalities should be able to vote wherever they own property and pay taxes. After all, taxation without representation is tyranny. Am I that far off base, Doctor?
Well, I happen to agree, but of course the people on the left are going to scream that is...
Let them scream.
Just.
Let them scream. In my belief is something needs to change now, as we're right on the top of the fence, okay? Nearly as many people are getting free things from the government as getting freedom from the government, okay? So if we don't change things now, this republic is doomed. Because the voter will figure out that they can keep voting for the same people that promised them free things, and then the people that actually produce the things that are taken away from the producers and given to the blood-sucking leeches. You know, for the sake of the republic, in my opinion, something has to change. I don't think people's mindsets are going to change. So maybe the way we vote for the politicians that keep promising the free things, maybe that should change.
Well, I don't know if the readers are familiar with the book called Rules for Radical by Saul Alinsky, but he mentions the promotion of class envy and discontent. He proposes a class warfare, which is the division of people into the wealthy and the poor, in order to make it easier to tax the wealthy with the support of the poor. And, of course, increasing the debt, which we have done in the United States, to unsustainable levels, I think it's close to $18 trillion right now, would allow the government to increase taxes on the middle class, thus producing more poor people who are easier to control. And in my opinion, eventually doing away with the middle class. And having lived under communism, I can tell you we did not have a middle class. It was just the majority of the population, the proletariat, and then you had the elites at the top. And, of course, there was a lot of income inequality then. And having lived under both communist tyranny and capitalism, and I don't mean the crony capitalism that we have today, the capitalism that I experienced when I first arrived in 1978, I would choose that capitalism any day. Now,
hey, Doctor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we're up against a time barrier here. Do you have a website where people can follow you?
Yes, I do. I have IlianaJohnson.com, and of course I write for Canada Free Press, and I also have a blog site, RomanianConservative.blogspot.com.
All right, with that, we got to run, we got to go. Take care, God bless, and we'll see you tomorrow on the radio.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Conservative Commandos radio show. Huge thanks to our co-hosts, contributors, patrons, callers, and our friends at WNJC 1360 and WIFI 1460, where we broadcast live every Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern and 2 to 4 p.m. Central. Look for us on the internet at www.ccrshow.com. Until next time, we are the Conservative Commandos Radio Show. where the newsmakers go to be heard.